Hey there everyone, and it's another day to record the movies, and I'm really excited because I have so many things to share with you in the Swift 3. So let's start with the functions, and yes, I know you have studied the function in the previous movie too, but let's again start with them. And I want to discuss two major things in the functions. And let's start with the Variadic parameters. So what does it mean? It simply means that sometimes parameters accept 0 or more values, or maybe n number of values, and you cannot decide how many values are gonna come here. So you can have n number of values and you can accept all the values out there. So how we can achieve this goal? So let's define a function for it, and let's call it as many mean. So we are gonna calculate a mean, but we are gonna calculate the mean for many numbers. And there we go. So its syntax is a little bit interesting. So first of all, I'm gonna say there's an underscore, and then I'm gonna call nums for the numbers, and these numbers are gonna be double. Oops, let's just call this as double. Here we go. And now you have to place 3 dots. There we go. And thereafter the 3 dots, I would expect that the mean that is being calculated is also being returned as a double. And there we go. So that's the syntax that you have to be working on. So underscore is again important here, but the most important part are the 3 periods or 3 dots, which allows you to take a range of the numbers without defining how much is going to be the last range. So it's just infinite out here. So let's just calculate a total here. Let me indent it a little bit, and let's call this as total, and total is gonna be a double, and it's gonna be initialized by 0. Let's run the loop. So let's just say for nums in numbers, or let's just call this guy as num. For num in nums, this nums is same as what we have defined at above, and then we are gonna calculate simply the total is gonna be plus equal num. Okay, syntax looks good. Now we have to return something, so let's just return a total by calculating the mean. So it's gonna say return is gonna be total divided by, let's just typecast this. So there we go, double, and there we go. So what I have to do, I have to count the numbers which are being passed into the parameter. So it's gonna be nums dot, and count can be applied here. So there we go. And there we go. The syntax is really simple. Let me add a space here to remove this error. And sometimes it's really hard to find these kinds of errors, but again, hooray, we have done it successfully out there. Now let's calculate the mean. So let's call this many mean, and you can pass on as many numbers as you wish. For example, let's just calculate the mean of these guys. It will take a little time to run this, but we can see 3.5 is being calculated, and you can run it again with different kind of numbers. Let's just calculate 1 2 3. There we go. And let's just wait for a second, and there we go. So 2. Pretty honest reply there. Okay, so these are the things that I wanted to talk about. Now there is one more interesting thing that I really want to talk in the Swift 3, and that is in-out parameter. So the problem with the functions is when you do pass on a parameter just like this, these parameters are constants. They are function parameters are always constant by default, and sometimes you do want to change these parameters. For example, swapping is the best example that anyone can put out here. So in case you want to swap these numbers, then you have to change the existing value in the parameter, and since this is a constant, it is going to give you an error. So in this particular case, we do use the in-out keyword. So if you want to make or if you want to modify a parameter's value and you want to change those to persist after the function call has ended, define that function parameters as in-out parameter instead. So sounds a little bit difficult, but actually these are very easy. So let's just try it out. So let's just define a function. So here we go, function, let's call this as swap. There we go, very easy. Or let's just call it as swap ints for just the time being. And there we go. Now, how does this syntax works out? So first of all, the underscore is important here. This is the syntax, and then let's just say you have a value a which is of integer type, and we used to define just like this. And let's just define b as well. So it's gonna be underscore b, and there we go. This is gonna be a simple integer as well. Okay, so this is actually good. This is okay. But the problem is this is not gonna swipe actually, because the parameters cannot be changed. So in case you want to do things like that, then you have to apply a parameter out there, that is inout keyword, and this goes just after the colon. So let's just put it out. So it says inout, not input, inout, and this is the keyword. It goes same here as well. So let's just put it here, inout, and there we go. Now we are completely ready to just swipe the two values. So let's just call this is a very simple thing. So let's just have a temporary variable that is gonna hold the a value. Then let's just switch a to b and b to the temp. There we go. So swapping is done. But calling of these functions, oops, not the array, I just want to swap for a, and there we go. Now calling of these function is also a little bit tricky. So what you have to do, let's just say I would call two values, and x is gonna be 2 and y is gonna be 3. So there we go. Now let's just call this swap int function. There we go. So notice the syntax is already helping you. They have already placed an ampersand sign, which is actually passing on the address. So if you are coming from the C-based languages, you might already be familiar with the syntax of call by value and call by simple reference things. But in this case, we just call them ins and outs. So just give them a value. So let's just give them x here, and the next is gonna be simply y. And this is how we just run the function. And right now it's just prompting us an error. Wait for a minute, and there it is, it's gone. But the interesting part would be to print out the values, because right now they have 2 and 3. So swap means it should be printing out, or it just be swapping out the values. So once the value is being swapped, I can find out the values here. So now we can see x is now 3. Let's try to find out what the value y is having. And y is 2. So the swapping is being done. So we have already studied the call by reference thing, but in this case we call, in the swift3 we call them as inout, just like that. Okay, so quickly summarize the things. So first of all, we learned how we can get the n number of arguments into the functions, and we did that. And thereafter we did learn how we can swap the values, or can change the parameter actual value. And just always remember that function parameters are constant by default, and by using the keyword inout, you can actually change the parameter. So that's all about the functions.